question is regarding Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What is the solution? How many years can they stay in conservatorship? Can the resolution trust authority be used? Are they truly too big to fail? What role will banks like Wells Fargo and U.S. Bancorp, who are leading mortgage players, play now that they are well capitalized? What happens to the MBS market and the mayor's system? How can housing improve, even with better demographics, without an answered Fannie and Freddie?
Well, I got through college answering fewer questions than that. I would say that the overall tone of your remark, which indicates that you think that Freddie and Fannie are a mess, is probably justified. And of course, the reason they're a mess is we haven't figured out yet, or we can't get agreement on what the best structure is to have in this country going forward to generally finance mortgages. There's no question that a government guarantee program brings down the overall cost of financing mortgages over time. And then we had one, of course, we've had several, but we had one in Fannie and Freddie that went wild when we introduced the profit motive into the mix of two institutions that really were half trying to serve a housing mission and half trying to serve a profit mission, and gradually the profit mission sort of overcame the housing mission. Congress hasn't sorted that out yet. It's a huge item, obviously. There are roughly 50 million residential mortgages in the United States, and they total 10 trillion or so. It's important that you have a market that does minimize costs for borrowers who have adequate down payments and adequate income and all of that. And I think for a while we were going in that direction with Fannie and Freddie, and then they left the tracks. But that's going to get fought out. How long they can stay in conservatorship? They can stay there a long time. They will stay there, in my view, until politically we get some kind of a resolution that as to a future policy that both parties can go along with, and looks to me like that's a ways off. Charlie?
Well, of course, the interesting thing is that Canada, right to the north, kept a more responsible real estate lending system, and they had almost no trouble. We departed completely from sanity and decency and morality in mortgage lending in the United States, and the government of the United States participated in the folly. And they did it in a big way, and it was wrong not to step on a boom that was obviously so full of fraud and folly. And I sometimes say that Alan Greenspan overdosed on Ayn Rand when he was young. He thought if an axe murder happened in a free market, it was probably all for the best. And so we had, there's a lot of disgraceful behavior we have to regret in terms of what happened, and it caused enormous damage. And in a modest little country like Spain, another one called Ireland, you had something somewhat similar. People just allowed craziness to go unchecked, and that was a big mistake. I mean, Greenspan was really wrong. It's the duty of the government to step on crazy, crooked booms and to prevent them by keeping sound policies, as Canada did. And so you put your finger on a very disgraceful episode in United States history. But once we were into it, I think we had no option but to do exactly as the government did, which was to nationalize Fannie Mae and Freddie and try and make them behave better in the future. And that's what's happened.
It's going to be a long runoff. And Congress, it wasn't just the Fed. Congress did their share in that too, but it was
Everybody did.
everybody did. I mean,
By the way, we didn't.
Charlie, we resigned from the Savings and Loan League a good many years ago just because we thought such nutty stuff was going on, and
It was disgraceful.
yeah,
And
and Charlie got lectured for it too.
yes, I did.
They made him go to school to learn how to loan money, and I think
Right.
one of the regulators said, "Well, what kind of people do you lend money to?" And I think Charlie said, "Well, the one thing we do is we don't lend money to people like you." And then, and for some reason, we had regulatory problems after that.
I was not popular because he said, you're using the government's credit in our savings and loan, and therefore you have to make a lot of dumb loans because we're telling you to. And I said, we're not using the government's credit. As a condition of one of our mergers, Berkshire Hathaway agreed you'd never have trouble with our savings and loan. We're paying you insurance premiums and you're using our credit. This did not make me popular.
No.
And he was a florid-faced alcoholic. I remember it very well.
I do too, but
We left the savings and loan business.
we have more problems when Charlie wins an argument. But it's a lot of fun.